Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have Live Current Media Inc. It trades on the OTCQB under the symbol LIVC. It's a media technology company at the intersection of the fast-growing markets of live events, social media, video streaming, and gaming. Operates the Cast Watch Party platform, which is a virtual living room where friends gather to watch movies, play games, and simply be together. We're excited to welcome its CEO, Mark Ollila. Welcome, Mark. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Anna?
Great. We're so excited to hear about your company. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So your introduction took a lot away from my introduction. I was going to talk about the ticker and everything like that. But for the audience here, I'm the CEO of Live Current Media, and I've actually been the CEO since April 22nd this year. So that's about 75 days or so. And what I want to do with this presentation is share some of the excitement of what we're up to, what we've done in the past 75 days since I've been CEO, and where we plan to take the company going forward. And we've got a lot of big ideas and big vision about where we want to take the company. So the journey of Live Current Media has been quite fascinating. And before I get to that, I have to do the natural forward-looking disclaimers from legal and so forth. So a lot of the things I say in here, forward-looking, and you need to take that into consideration. So let's get into the fun stuff. So our journey, as I mentioned, we just did me coming in as CEO on April 22nd. Now, my background before that is that I've been in the media technology platform games industry since last century. I have been both in the startup world as well as the corporate world. The corporate world at Nokia and Microsoft, and in the startup world, being a chairperson of a company that eventually its technology was acquired by NVIDIA for all their graphics boards. So we're looking here with a company in Live Current as something that happened when, after I left Nokia in 2018, I became invited by shareholders to actually become CEO of Cast. Now, some of the roles I had at Nokia, and why they did that is that some of the roles I had at Nokia was heading up games publishing. I headed up all the games activities at Nokia on the first party side and ran studios globally in Vancouver, San Francisco, Helsinki, and basically showcased to the industry about what the mobile games industry was like. I also ran Nokia's photo and video sharing activity and basically had access to hundreds of millions of consumers that were actively sharing their photos and videos. As mentioned, 2018, I was asked by shareholders of Cast to come in as CEO. And as Anna alluded to, Cast is a watch party platform, and it's the largest independent cross-platform solution that is out there that's agnostic. So what is a watch party? Well, the first watch party that existed is probably when the cave people sat around a fire and told stories. That was like a watch party, sharing experiences with each other. More recently, a watch party has probably been when you've been invited with your friends over to someone else's place to watch the football or to watch the soccer, to watch the Super Bowl, and maybe watch Eurovision or something like that. And that's been a modern day watch party. Since COVID took place, we've had the virtual watch party where people have been coming together and trying to watch things together even though they're remote. And that's what the Cast platform has been focusing on. How do you get people together when they're remote? And the simple analogy we like to use is that we're the virtual living room. Whatever you do in a living room, be it watch TV, watch movies, drink wine, have laughs, play games, you can do in Cast and from a virtual perspective. And that's what our focus has been very much on, getting people together, friends and family. And people use Cast not to make new friends, but to actually be with their friends. So in September last year, middle of September last year, we made the announcement that we're doing a reverse takeover merger with Live Current Media. Now, Live Current Media historically has been involved in a lot of different businesses. And more recently, it has been involved in hyper-casual gaming. And that is a space that we were very interested in as people move to more hyper-casual gaming, games that are very fast to pick up. And things like trivia, for instance. Now, we did the announcement in the middle of September last year, and we closed the deal on April 22nd this year. During that time, we raised about $3.5 million in Q1, and that's fundamentally allowed us to bring Live Current and Cast in together and fundamentally form this new entity. And that new entity is Live Current Media. It's a media technology platform company focused on connecting communities. And that's what our mission and vision is all about. How do we get communities together? So moving on, if we have a look at Cast just from a historical perspective, like I said, we're a content agnostic platform, and our focus is very much on community first, content second. And that's an important element that differentiates us from other platforms out there, which might be content first. So Cast, we have about 4 million registered users. Our peak was around 600 monthly active users at the start of COVID, and we're stabilizing at the moment with no marketing or activity involved at around 45,000 monthly active users. What's more interestingly happening with Cast is that our community is very young and diverse. Over 80% of our community is under the age of 35. And 50% is between the ages of 18 and 23, and pretty evenly split between male and female. And that is a pretty wealthy, targeted community that people want to go after, the millennials and the Gen Zs, as they grow up in this digital era that they were naturally born in. And so it's exciting to have that community in that age group working on the Cast platform and looking at what they do and how they innovate and how they actually engage with each other and the friends and family that they have. So other aspect as well that we actually see with these communities is that this segment very much is interested in social media and looking at what's happening in the social media space, but then also engaging into the social media space. So these figures are basically listing the top 3 activities on social media that age group typically works on. And this is pretty constant. This is the US numbers, but this is pretty constant across the world as well. And you can see listening to music, watching, reading news, playing video games, are pretty much high on the agenda of these community members. So how does this fit, and how does Cast fit into this evolving ecosystem that we've seen? And there's been a lot of discussion around streaming recently. And really in the 2010s, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we started seeing companies like YouTube invest into YouTube TV. We had Fubo TV coming through with a Spanish sports focus. And then moving further, we started to see new companies come through, such as Twitch, which was very focused on gaming and streaming live game streamers and having them interact with the community. And Amazon acquired Twitch for over $1 billion, or around $1 billion, I believe. And then you've got other aspects coming through with Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, adding more live features to their platforms. Then in the last few years, you're starting to see watch parties actually appear. And there's companies like Cast that are independent and are content agnostic, meaning you can share anything on Cast. And then you've got big corporates like Disney that introduce their watch party feature as well. But there's a big difference between the types of watch parties that exist out there. Cast, for instance, allows you to have private and public parties. We also have the ability to have around 120 people in our parties. We also have the ability to actually have 20 streams going on at the one time. So they can be quite rich and diverse experiences in that one watch party that has been created by some community. Whereas if you look at Disney, when they launched their group watch feature, it was 6 emojis. Yes, 6 emojis. Okay, what sort of interactive experience can you have with your friends with 6 emojis? And I think that's where, again, like we're focusing so much on how do we make the community and the interaction between the community members so much better. But the future is very much quite interesting because we're seeing that people are moving towards this creator economy. We have this aspect of live stream shopping that's now starting to appear, and creator-generated content, user-generated content. And so there needs to be a platform out there that actually supports that and allows that to happen. And that's something that Cast is at the heart of with that and what we're doing at Live Current. So what do I mean about how we're positioned in this landscape as well? I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to mention it all the time, we're community first. So if you look at traditional streaming companies like Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, they're content first, community second. And those companies are having a big struggle because they're very much focused on their content, and subscribers and consumers are, dealing with the fact that they're dealing with subscription stacking. They're needing to stack like subscriptions to get to the content that they want, and then they see the content and then they leave that platform to go to another platform, and there's no community element in there. So it's a red ocean. They're fighting with each other quite aggressively. Whereas we focus on community first, and community can be many things. It can be you and your family. It could be your children, or it could be your parents, or it could be your close friends from high school, or it could be a club that is focused on movies, particularly maybe animation movies or action movies or special Asian movies. Like, communities can be wide and varied. They could also be communities like a church or a community focused around a documentary filmmaker. Communities are wide and varied, and that's why we're very much interested in this community first approach. And what we particularly think about is, okay, how do we help support those communities, and how do we support the creators in those communities that are actually generating the content? And you'll see that coming up in this next slide here as I talk more about the creator economy. On the left here, you'll see a Twitter feed. And this Twitter feed is basically from one of our Cast community members. Now, she hosts these watch parties quite regularly, and she's a big fan of Ernest. And what she's doing on Twitter, is she's actually advertising a watch party that's coming up. And something that has resonated in my mind by watching the Cast community at work and how they're operating, and it's a very interesting metaphor that I use, but like Uber disrupted taxis, Airbnb hotels, Cast is disrupting cinema, because we're allowing our community members to become creators and to actually become the people that can be virtual cinemas themselves, focusing on the content that they want and having communities that join at specific times. So I'd like you to listen to this video of Maureen here and how she's using Cast. And cue the video, please.
Hey there, my name is Maureen Edwards. My friends just call me Mo with no E. Consider this your formal invitation for this weekend's Ernest Watch Party bonus event. We're going to be watching Toy Story 2, for which Jim Varney did the voice of Slinky Dog. We're going to have a free stream, group chat. We're going to be doing random giveaways throughout. We've got our general Ernest Watch Party prize packs, which include some free fun stickers and buttons and candy. And then we're also going to give away a world's smallest Slinky Dog toy and an author-signed copy of Jim Varney's biography. So I hope that you can make it. It will be this Sunday, May 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. What you're going to want to do is head to earnestwatchparty.com right now and request to join the party. And then on Sunday night at showtime, you just go to that same link and you'll join in the fun there. Make sure you invite your friends.
Lovely. So you can see Maureen is developing her community. She's got a fan base that loves the work that she's doing. She's giving giveaways and so forth. And Cast is acting as a platform that fundamentally is providing that end-to-end ability for her to work with the community. And then what we're developing is fundamentally the tools and set so that everyone in the value chain eventually will get paid according to how they fit in that value chain. And that's important when you look at what's happening here with the consumer spending on apps. Like there's a lot of spend happening on social apps, and this will be developing and increasing as time moves along. So we want to be in that space. And why we're well positioned is that we've got diversified video usage taking place. It's a cycle that comes through and develops. And that video usage is ranging from sharing game experiences to having parties on Cast. And we have a very strong technology architecture. We've got about 8 patents that have been issued. And we're developing and have very nice monetization methods that allow people to actually make money on the platform as we build it outwards. So here you can see some data about what that community and what this generation particularly wants to do. They want to spend more time watching user-generated content than TVs and movies. And that Gen Z and millennials are more convinced about the fact that they'd take on subscriptions of other services if it was bundled with gaming or music or something else. And that's interesting when you look at Netflix, who recently has been in the news a lot, but also has been acquiring game companies recently because they know they need to do more than just traditional streaming. Whereas with Cast and what we've done here is that we've been in that space of agnostic content streaming for the past couple of years. So where do we go from here? So let's talk about the investment highlights and what's happened in historically, and then what we've got planned in the next coming months. So historically, we've raised about 11 million up to today since 2016. And in 2019, we had, out of that 11 million, in 2019, we had an investment of about 1.25 million from Leeward. It's headed up by a former president of Verizon business unit, and they invested in us because of the 5G, the need for operators and operators to have content that really utilizes 5G and platforms that utilize 5G. Q1 this year, we brought in Mercer, and they put in about 2.5 million. And we had also about another million in insider money going in. And so that forms up the 11 million historically since 2016 and 2018 when I became CEO of Cast, and then 2022 when I came in with Live Current. Now, why is this relevant? Well, as a business, we're riding the trends that are happening out there in the moment. You got growth in FAST, which is free ad-supported television. And, you know, Netflix is starting to move to that space as well. You got growth happening in live stream shopping as well, like 28.3%. You have the creator economy seeing 35% growth. You got Web3 activities growing quite fast. There's also naturally a lot of uncertainty in that market as well at the moment, but it's something which we need to keep a close eye on, and we have some interesting ideas of what could be done in that space. And it's got nothing to do with pixelated squirrels or anything like that, but more about an NFT marketplace tied to real content. Then you see an increase in M&A deals taking place. And so there's a lot of things that are happening there and trends that we're much aligned with. And from an organic perspective, like we've started to roll out and develop our own services, allowing creators to actually generate money and introducing advertising to our service. But then on the inorganic side, we did an acquisition of Guru that we're at the very close to finally closing, pending an audit. And Guru is a AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality platform focused on the museum communities. And what's interesting is that we have an NFT marketplace that we've tied into Guru, which will be naturally tied into the assets of those museums. And that's something quite exciting. And then we acquired the assets of Neverthink. Neverthink was the one of the largest meme creators tool platforms that existed out there. So creators could create memes with Neverthink. They had 15 million users, And we've acquired the assets for that, and we're planning to incorporate that into Cast, so then the meme community, meme creators can actually have a platform that is tied into another community, which then can be shared with everyone that they want. So as we move on, it's important to talk about the new leadership that exists at Live Current. And naturally, I've talked a bit about myself, but then we've got Steve Smith, experienced debt entrepreneur, coming in and has worked with a lot of early stage companies. We have Ed Semnett as Chief Strategic Officer. He worked closely with me at Nokia in mergers and acquisitions and business development. And he's also run his own personal investment fund. We have David, the president, who was the former CEO of Live Current. He's handling all the investor relations. And then on the far right, we've got Justin Weisberg, a former professional gamer, esports gamer, who's helping run our gaming activities. And then on the board, we've got 3 exciting board members. Heidi Steiger, who's a Wall Street legend, which fundamentally sits on the board of Fidelity and is working very closely with us about how we take this company and onto NASDAQ, for instance, and work with Wall Street. We have Leslie S. Klinger, tax attorney based out of Hollywood, and very experienced with the media industry, but also fascinatingly, also one of the leading experts in the world in Sherlock Holmes and Dracula. So has written a lot of annotated guides. And then we've got Anna Maria Rapico here, seasoned executive, former senior partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and has worked with all the Silicon Valley companies you can think of in terms of their international expansion as well as their compensation. So if we move on, what have I done in the past 8 weeks, and what has the team done in that past 8 weeks? As I said, we've raised about $3.5 million. We've done the acquisition of Guru. We announced that on May 19th, expect to close it sometime in July. We acquired at the end of May the assets of Neverthink. And then currently we're in discussions for about 3 other companies for acquisition. So moving very fast in this pace of organic and inorganic growth. So where does that take us now? And I'm seeing that we're coming to the end. I want to allow some questions. Is that our view is that we want to deliver high return, and we're focusing on community, we're focusing on user monetization, and we expect to see this growth take over the place in the next 18 to 36 months. However, what's important is that the big side of things that we want to get to is we want to get to 1 million monthly active user growth. We want to have 40 million plus in revenue growth. And that's basically over the next 36 months. And how do we do that? We leverage public stock to acquire 2 to 3 companies. And we start to expand our current organic items that we own and support that community and grow it. The investment ask that we're out there talking about is that we're looking to bring in about $10 million, $5 million to support the organic growth, which accelerates our live stream shopping and live transactions, and $5 million for an inorganic acquisition that we're looking at. That inorganic acquisition is basically a retro gaming community, and we have about 20 million committed in debt from 1 senior bank and 1 junior lender. And the 5 million in equity that we bring in will be to secure 100% ownership of the company. And what that brings is a company in the retro gaming community space, which has about 30 million in revenue and 4.5 million in EBITDA. And we become the 100% owner of that. So we're in negotiations with that company, and let's see how that develops. It might not come through, it might fall through. Okay, if it does, it does. If it does come through, then that's extremely exciting for us as we continue to grow. But as I said, we're looking at many different entities as we move forward and grow organically as well as inorganically. And then our transformation, this is where we want to end up in the next 3 years to 5 years. NASDAQ listing, 150 million in revenue, 40 million EBITDA, 50 million members, and about 10 acquisitions in that space. And just giving you the sense of what we've done in about the past 8 to 10 weeks, with one acquisition and one asset purchase, and the fact that we're in 3 asset acquisition discussions at the moment, I think you can see that we're very committed to this, and the management team is very committed to this. And in many ways, I see that we're on the path to trying to build a North American Tencent, a mini version of it anyway, and that's extremely exciting for us. So I'm going to wrap up there, move over to Anna for questions in the last 5 minutes. And if they've got investment-based questions, david@livecurrent.com is the person to reach out to. But over to you, Anna.
Great. Thank you for that presentation. Wonderful job. Elaine Hubbard asks, how does your background in gaming help you in developing Live Current's business, considering that Cast is mostly a film and television platform?
Yeah, great question. So most of the management team comes from the gaming industry. And the one thing about the gaming industry is that it's extremely innovative when it comes to technology, very innovative when it comes to monetization mechanisms. Like free-to-play was something that was unheard of 10 years ago, but now it's a dominant form of monetization. And at the same time, it's very fast to change. And it's also very focused on communities with multiplayer gaming and the large communities that exist out there. And so because of our background in games, we have this natural feeling for how to move fast, how to work with communities, and how to work with new technologies. And the film industry, TV industry, in many ways is very archaic. It's got a lot of legacy processes in place and licensing in place. And it's very hard to sort of see things move fast there. So by us coming in and looking at that industry with a gaming perspective, by looking to, change the way things can be done with a focus on community, I think that gives us an edge that other companies don't have.
Good answer. Jose Sherman asks, you have many verticals for revenue. Can you estimate the percentage each will bring in?
So we're going through that whole process at the moment. I think one of the key things is that the Cast platform will be generating most of the revenue during 2022. But then as we expand and start to integrate companies like Guru, that will start to generate significant revenue as well. But the focus very much is looking at subscription revenue and then advertising revenue and how that piles into the actual experience. So not a super clear answer at the moment because we're still in the works of doing all the integrations and the planning as well. We know where we want to get, but I think when we release our next set of quarterly reports, there'll be a much better clarity in there of where we're going.
Israel Morales says, since it seems people are not afraid of getting together like they were with COVID, what does that do to your getting together on this platform do?
Yeah, that's something which I think is really fascinating to see because often people are not together anyway. So a mother and her family, their children could be in different cities and they want to, watch the NFL draft together or watch a trivia show together. And we're seeing that also people that are in the game space, often they're not in the same city or they're not in the same location. And so they want to do things together. So I like to look at it from a perspective of remember the first time you did e-commerce, the first time you ever paid for something online with a credit card, that feeling of being nervous and, geez, is this going to work? Am I actually going to get ripped off or so forth? And then it works and you get more comfortable and then you do more and more e-commerce and more shopping online. Similarly, we see that with the Cast platform is that people will still go to cinemas and meet together and be with each other. But then at the same time, we offer the ability for them to be together when they're not together. And I think that's a very powerful thing.
Just like we're doing here, reaching people all over the world. All right. Sean Harmon asks, what's your user acquisition cost?
So that's something which I will need to share in our quarterly report because we're fundamentally, as I said, we have almost no marketing in place at all. It's all been organic. If you go to google.com and search for Watch Party app, we're often come up as the first result there. So that's fundamentally something that we need to start investing into when we do marketing and then at the same time, look at how we optimize that.
Julia Palmer says, I see you're sitting on about $2 million in cash. How did you acquire that? And if it was debt, what are the terms? Also, do you have a use of proceeds for that you can discuss?
So when we got that debt in through Mercer and also the insiders, and we actually have we published the details of that transaction through the SEC. So fundamentally, it's 4% interest on that debt, and they have the ability to convert that to equity at a 34 cents is the conversion price, and then they also have 75% coverage in warrants at I believe it was 60 cents.
Carol,
and also the use of funds. Fundamentally, the use of funds for that money is looking at ramping up the product and getting it out there in terms of people being made more aware of it, and then also recruiting in talent that allows us to grow the business with the bigger vision that we have.
Wonderful. Carol Hardy says, of the 2 million users, that's what she thinks you said. How often do they log in, and how long do they stay on for?
So they it varies very much. So Cast isn't like a like WhatsApp or a messaging solution where people come in on daily. It's more of a weekly or monthly experience for the core users, where they have something like, okay, every Thursday night, let's all get together on Cast and watch something together. And so it's pre-booked in their calendar that, okay, yeah, every Thursday we're going to do something like this. I've also seen parties where they get together on the weekends and they decide, hey, let's watch romantic comedies this weekend, or let's watch some Asian action movies this weekend. And so different parties do different things with Cast. However, when people stay on the platform and for a specific party, then typically that's for several hours.
Charlie Barrett asks if you can explain how a content business could benefit from your platform, and how would they get started?
So content business, like, think of us like we described ourselves as a virtual living room to the community, to consumers, and that made quite sense. To the industry, we describe ourselves like a virtual Roku. And because we're on all platforms, like we're on Chrome, we're on iOS, on PC, we're on Android, and we actually have prototypes running on Apple TV and some set-top boxes. And so what we're looking for are content partners which actually want to have their content made available to the Cast community. And because, like, when you look at this Cast community, they're highly segmented and very focused on content. They love content. And so you don't need to filter through hundreds of millions of people because you've got a very passionate community there. So the best way to do that is, like, reach out to us and we'll talk about how we can do a content deal.
Sounds good. Al McCormick asks, what's the revenue model for Live Current, and how many verticals do you have?
So the revenue model is built around subscription, and people subscribe to Cast to basically get access to more advanced features, to better resolution. And with regards to the verticals, currently at the moment, you'd say that we have Cast as one vertical. We have, when we complete the acquisition of Guru, it's another vertical. And again, we're looking at other verticals as well that have the common element of communities. And what we're also doing at the same time is that we're Live Current had these hyper casual games, which were standalone. One was a Trivia Matrix, one was called Sport Matrix. And what we're looking to do is integrate that, the trivia game anyway, directly into Cast as well, so that when people are looking at experiences, we can actually have a movie trivia game running on the side that the community can interact with.
Sounds interesting. Marlene Craig wants to know, what's the cost of your acquisition of Guru and Neverthink, and when will you recoup that cost? Plus, how much do you think they can make you in the next 24 months?
So we didn't announce the acquisition price for Neverthink Assets. That was a cash transaction. You know what our cash is in the bank, so you can get a sense of that, but it was non-material. The acquisition of Guru, we publicized and announced that as required, and that's an all-stock transaction. And I think the total amount of that transaction is about 3 million shares. Is a stock transaction for Guru, and the revenue expectations again we'll share that during like in our next quarterly report. However, Guru at the moment is profitable, so it's a profitable company, and what they needed was a management team like us to work with them to help them to scale, to get better clients, and then also how we can also utilize our technology into the Guru offering. And then Neverthink, as I said, will be the assets will be put into Cast, rolled into Cast, and I expect that we'll start seeing those features available in Q4 2022.
Fantastic. Adam Schultz has a question on funding. What were the terms of the original 25 million raise and the subsequent raises? And were they debt or equity? If debt, what were the terms? And if convertible, please be specific.
So as I said, like for that actual raise, and that's for a specific acquisition. So we engaged two banks, a senior bank and a junior lender, and it's a debt financing for that. And I'm not going to share the terms for that because the deal is not closed. When the deal is actually closed in terms of doing the acquisition, then I'll happily share the terms of the transaction accordingly. But as we have not closed that deal yet, and we're in the process of the negotiations, that's something that I'll just hang on to. What I did want to use with that example was the fact that that we're not acting slow, we're moving fast, and we're engaging with either equity financing or debt financing, depending on what is better for the company.
Karen Miles wants you to talk about the metaverse and any plans you have to incorporate your model into it.
I have to say, I think the metaverse is overrated. Like the games industry, like games like World of Warcraft and everything else has been, they're metaverses in themselves. Fortnite is, the original, more recent metaverse. What I do want to say though is that we do have a prototype of Cast working in the Oculus headset. So you have a VR experience with Cast and watching content with your friends in that VR experience, and that we also have the ability to, generate content that could be used elsewhere and so forth. But in many ways, the Cast community have their own metaverse, which is in their own parties, be it, something which is exciting around a new documentary filmmaker or across Toy Story or something like that. So we're watching and seeing what's happening out there with the metaverse because it's a lot of hype, and I just want to be very careful about it, and at the same time focus on, acquisitions and organic growth, which we know is real and can generate revenue, because revenue is strategic, and that's something that's really important to me.
Spencer Ellis would like you to explain your model a little bit more. Is your platform able to be incorporated with a Facebook, Meta, Instagram, or are those platforms a means to bring traffic to yours?
They're more of a means to bring traffic to ours. And our model very much is that we're B2C and we're an independent content agnostic cross-platform solution. So listening to that means we're running across different platforms. We don't care about the content that's been shared in the watch parties, be it games, be it TV, be it movies, be it you just telling a story. Like we had, one watch party I heard about was a librarian actually reading novels to people who wanted to listen to her read novels. And that was just, wow, that was something that I hadn't heard before. So we're focusing very much on that ability for people to just come in and use the platform. And from there, we look at how we generate revenue by giving better features and better experiences by the subscription model.
Floyd Rodriguez wants to know if you have a current PPM, or are you raising money currently in another manner?
We don't have a PPM. We are filing, like, for how do I say it? Like, for the recent money that we've raised, we're actually filing the S1 with the SEC, which basically will reflect the money that's been raised, and like previously. And then going forward, we'll just need to look at what is the best mechanism to do that. For bringing in, the 10 million that we're looking for, both for the inorganic and organic growth, like we will just consider and discuss with the various parties, our internal larger shareholders, or discuss with outside parties that want to do something, be it an investment bank or so forth. But nothing's been determined or decided upon that. But it is something that we know that we'll be doing during the second half of this year and looking to grow more aggressively in 2023.
Wonderful. Well, Mark, do you have any closing remarks for us?
No, like really, our motto is like, watch together, play together, watch together, be together. That's who we are. We want people to be together. And hopefully you'll follow us and take an interest in what we're up to.
Yes, this was a great presentation, great company you have here. And please join us again in the future with all your exciting updates. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, it's been a great conference today. So we thank you for joining us. In just a second, you're going to be redirected to the registration page for our next conference in 2 weeks. So please reserve your spot early. On behalf of all of us at Emerging Growth, thank you to all of our presenters and attendees for making this such a great success. Remember that a complete replay of this conference, separated by company, will be available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Please subscribe. Also follow us on Twitter @EmergingGrowthC. We always post new information to Twitter first. I'm Anna Berry, and on behalf of our whole team here at Emerging Growth, we thank you so much for joining us and wish you a happy, healthy, and successful rest of your week. We'll see you guys again soon.